look at this, because this tells you pretty much all you need to know. I don't think we'll ever get a handle on this spending in our nation's capital. Take a look at this. Now, that ad is put out by the Agenda Project. It is a progressive policy advocacy group, I guess. Talk about over the top, though. Now we're throwing Granny off the cliff. Are they really serious? And they wonder why seniors act up at town hall meetings. They're scaring folks to death. Who can blame them for acting up? Because I'm going to tell you what, my friends, it ain't the truth that's going down. It's lies and exaggerations, stupid spots like this that equate adjustments to the growth in Medicare. Not cuts in Medicare, slowing the growth of Medicare that's pushing grandma off a cliff on Medicare. This is why we're not moving the ball. Big government fans are just having a ball. They're lying, exaggerating, and insisting everything's fine. The folks who want to rein in these entitlements are not.
Many seniors in America will be forced into poverty, and worse, some seniors will end up dying.
It just gets worse. Now, I want you to look at this ad again. It is very well done. But look at the guy pushing grandma. Does he look familiar to you? You think they wanted to make him look like Paul Ryan, the head of the Budget Committee, who came up with the Medicare plan? I do. So now the guy who had the guts to address Medicare costs that are slowly killing us, well, now he's killing us. I think it's nuts. No wonder why Dr. and Senator Tom Coburn all but quits a gang trying to reach consensus on this kind of stuff. He's had it with this stuff, and frankly, so am I. This isn't just about our budget being a turkey. This is about our country now being toast. Now back to that ad and the group that created it. Erica Payne is single-handedly responsible for destroying this country as we know it. Okay, that was extreme. This is nuts. You are saying that an attempt to rein in the growth of an entitlement program that just last week we found out it's going to be running out of money 5 years earlier than we thought, is akin to pushing grandma over a cliff.
Well, I'll tell you what my friend Reverend Jim Wallace says that I think is really important for people to remember right now, and that is that a nation's budget is really a moral document. So when we sit down and say we're going to spend money on this and spend money on this and not spend money on this, these are really moral choices.
We're running out of money.
Well, you know, I'll give you a great example of the turkey that makes me crazy. So we both have a dog in the hunt. A couple months ago, Republicans and Democrats, 200 of them, voted to keep building an engine called the F-35 second engine on a fighter plane that George Bush and Obama
Don't veer off topic.
and Gates
you're veering off topic.
didn't
You're veering off topic.
That's $3 billion.
I'm not here to debate other programs or initiatives.
To cover seniors.
I'm telling you, we've got a program that by the government's own estimates is losing money faster and sooner than we thought. We're not destroying this program. We're talking about curtailing the growth of the program. And yet, even addressing it, and you can have your qualms with the details of the Ryan plan or any other plan, you are telling anyone who wants to tackle this is how we're going to treat you.
I think that I'm actually doing something different. What I would like to do, I think we're in a really important moment in our country.
You're fear-mongering, Erica.
And we have important choices to make. And I want to just make sure that people understand the choices, look at what is happening, learn about the issue, and really focus. I think what I did was I highlighted that we've got a lot of senior citizens who are going to be in a really bad spot if we don't make the right moral choices in this budget debate.
But what if we do nothing, Erica? Why don't you do an ad about if we do nothing? What about those seniors now who are going to face higher costs, higher deductibles, more responsibility for their own coverage if we do nothing? This is the same group that's going to be affected by this national health plan that over the next decade is going to take $500 billion out of Medicare. Now, you might be right. It might be swapped out for something better and nicer. But to say that any effort to rein in the growth of that program is tantamount to killing everyone's grandma is just wrong.
So I'm not saying that any effort to address the challenges that the program faces are wrong. What I'm saying, and I think really people need to ask this, what the Republicans and some Democrats have thought about doing is privatizing Medicare. Now that sounds good. You think, well, private industry does a good job on things. My grandmother died when she was 96 years old. There is no profit margin in covering my grandmother when she is in the nursing home. None. You cannot find a profitable way to cover my grandmother. So do we want to put that in the private sector, which is driven by profits, or does that just mean that the costs of paying for my grandmother's health care is going to have an additional cost?
But that's built into our system now. Whether your grandmother and her state in a nursing care facility paid for a private insurance company or Medicare, so the same reality is there. What I'm asking you this, you're acting like he's wanting to privatize the whole system. Believe me, there are many parts of this right plan over which I don't flip. I agree with you about quibbling over the details. I am not throwing grandma, though, over the cliff on the basis of some of our discrepancies, though. What I'm wondering about is how we forward the debate with stuff like this, and how a plan that gives older people the right to get vouchers backed and paid for by the United States government, which you're a big fan of, and also coverage for pre-existing and the riskiest conditions where they can't be part of this exchange. How that is so end-of-the-world-ish.
So what a voucher does is that you give me money and then I go out into an exchange and I pick the plan that works best. And that exchange is filled with private insurers who have a profit motive. And that sounds like it might work. But again, my 96-year-old grandmother, there's no profit motive in covering her. And I got to tell you, love her to pieces, miss her, but she was not capable at 96 or 86 of going into an exchange, and I can barely sort through the health care plans that I use to cover my employees.
Do you have any more comfort in the President's plan 14 advisor member commission that is going to be essentially making these same decisions? Because I remember about a year or so ago when that commission and its formation were being discussed, it was called a death panel.
Well, I will tell you, I personally am much more comfortable with having elected officials or people who are appointed by elected officials to be responsible for helping us make those choices rather than an accountant.
You would trust elected officials who've lost more money than companies will ever find, who have the most inefficient system in Medicare today, whose cost overruns have been legendary, who've not been able to exact the cost concessions they have promised, or even the president has bragged about. You would trust that over any alternative? I would take Osama bin Laden's health plan over that.
So let me just point out a couple of things which can be surprising to people. One is that when you look at private health insurance plans, their administrative costs are actually higher than the government-run plans. So in that instance, the private sector doesn't actually
Erica, I
work
share
better.
I've been rejected by private insurance companies for coverage. I know well of what you speak, and I'm hardly an endorser of that system entirely.
Right.
I will say this, though. In this case, you know that Medicare as it exists is not going to work. The business math doesn't favor it. The numbers don't favor it. So isn't it inevitable to say that on its present course, you either scale back benefits, force people to pay more, or raise taxes, or a combination of all to keep it going as you wish?
I think, again, I'll go back to what my reverend friend Jim Wallace says. You know, if I have $100 to spend and I'm head of a country, I need to make a decision
I know we
how
can
to allocate
you don't like the bombers and the fighter jets, that's fine. I'm here to say that the way this system is going right now, it's losing money faster than me running out of a health food store. It's not working. It's not working. The math isn't there. We have to face that. And here's a guy, you say what you will of Paul Ryan, I quibble with him on many things. He comes out the gate with a plan. And rather than open the debate to discuss the plan, everyone vilifies it, says he's a murderer, you say he's pushing ground over the cliff. How is that elevating the debate?
Well, I actually think that we have a democracy for a reason, and the reason that we have a democracy is that so all of our citizens,
in that ad.
So all of our citizens can get involved in these choices.
An older person's going to look at that ad and say, "Oh my God, they're pushing me off the cliff."
I hope that we'll all look at that ad and say, this is a really important set of choices that we need to make, and I need to take a minute and really focus on these debates and talk to my elected officials and talk to the experts about what the right thing to do is. This is an important set of choices.
I think you went over far, but I think you're very smart. And you meanwhile, even though you're destroying the country. The woman in that ad, was she an older woman?
Oh, yeah.
Was she seriously thrown over a cliff?
Absolutely not, Neil.
Okay, good.
You know, but you leave it to Paul Ryan, and she might be in the future.
Oh, here we go.
How's that?
Here we go. You didn't do this for any of the wait till you see the surprises in this healthcare plan. You're going to be pushing everyone over the cliff, and you'll be paying for it.
Neil,
and you're happy with that.
We're just going to disagree on this. I really think that, you know, we've got an obligation to our citizens, and I think about this word entitlement a lot that has become such a villain word. I think my grandmother was entitled to health care.
No, wait a minute. Pam, we're going to go a little longer. And you just said something that gets to the crux of this debate. You just said that an entitlement, assuming that there is an inherent value in keeping it as is. The problem with keeping it as is that we can't afford it. Now, we can swap out fighter jets and all you want for this, but the growth spectrum it's on is something that is unsustainable. So are you willing to concede anything at all, to correct it?
I am willing to concede the fact that we make a lot of stupid choices in our budget, and those stupid choices are made by both Democrats
within Medicare,
and Republicans.
within a system that is inefficient. You could say what you want about, well, private's inefficient too. You're right about a lot of that. Would you make any concession at all to this program that you love, but we know is going bankrupt?
I will make the concession that I think that we need to find some ways to meet the moral obligations that we have to our seniors. And
you know what you're telling me, Erica? You wouldn't change a thing. You wouldn't change a thing.
I wouldn't do what Paul Ryan plans to do, which is to cut millions of people out of Medicare and make choices in the budget that do not align with my moral architecture.
You know we've got a budget, moral. We've got a budget that's out of control, spending that's out of control. Anytime we so much as even mention curbing the growth of an entitlement program like Medicare, say nothing like of Social Security or Medicaid, it hits a buzzsaw. And then you do ads like this that scare the bejesus out of folks of all ages in this country. When you know that the plan being discussed exempts those 55 and older, and for those younger, gives them the option. Choose what you wish. That never comes up.
I think it sounds, choose what you wish, sounds like a good idea. I stick with the thought that my grandmother at 90 couldn't have made that choice.
Look, you're saying, it doesn't say choose by you wish. You have an ad that's saying pick your poison. You're going to die. We can't continue the debate.
I have an ad that's challenging people to really think about what moral choices they want to make in the budget that the Congress is in the process of debating right now. And if I had a choice to make, I'm picking the sweet woman who is in this ad.
All right, so if the sweet woman is going to get gouged under the health care plan and she's going to pay more, will you do a follow-up ad to this one? She's being pushed down an embankment?
I tell you what, let's see where it ends up in a couple years, and I'll be happy to do an ad that reflects the reality
By then
of
we'll
the
be
choices
$2 trillion more in debt. It might be too late.
Neil, I appreciate you talking. It's a really important issue.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
is. And too much to trivialize, right?
I completely agree, and one that deserves a lot of attention.
Oh, man.
Sometimes
Erica, I
love
you dearly.
I
love you dearly, but it's clear you're going to go to hell now. I kid. Frank Lutz on what all this means. Next.
Oil companies have changed my country.
Oil companies can make a difference.
We have the chance